What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another preview. We just did one, but this time it's the Champions League. It's an exciting one. You know, it's different Champions League, especially this season for us. We haven't been in it for a year, and now we're back in it. So the feeling is always like it's hype. You know, it's hype. Yeah, I'm hype. You know, the feeling is hype. It's a hype feeling for tomorrow, but also, and I'm talking for myself right here, the realization that it's probably going to be less stressful for me personally than watching the Serie A, because I want to get back on top in Serie A before I actually even consider, talking about the Champions League. You know, this season Champions League for me is a bonus. Whatever happens, it's a good way for this team to learn, especially like the hard way, I think. But the Serie A one is probably where I'm gonna get stressed the most, rather than the Champions League game. So that's why I'm excited about it. Also because the Champions League is just a Champions League. You know, it's different. It's fun. It's yeah, man. It's just different, a different type of football. You know. So we're gonna talk about what Locatelli had to say, Motta had to say, PSV as well, obviously, and talk about the potential lineup with some surprises, apparently. Actually, not some, but one very strange surprise. We'll talk about that in a sec. And then, as always, predictions and stuff, and then we'll wrap it up. But yeah, everyone in the chat, thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe. And yeah, let's start with Locatelli, because he was picked to. I was actually surprised that he got picked, or that they chose Locatelli to talk with Motta. I was actually expecting Gatti, I'm not gonna lie, but Locatelli is there, who some might think is the real captain of the team, or should be the real captain of the team. And he spoke about it. He said a couple of things. You know, excited to be back in the Champions League. You know, the usual stuff. You know, we need to honor this shirt, blah blah blah. You know, the standard, you know, pre-game talk you will get. But what he had to say, and I thought was very important, is the midfield, because that was completely overhauled this summer. That midfield is not even close to what it was last season, and he's part of it. So we talked about that midfield, because right now, I think nobody really knows what the starting midfield is. You know, you can say it's him and it's Colt Miners or it's Douglas Luiz, whatever. You know, and you can make probably like 4 or 5 combinations of a potential midfield. But it's match day 4 or match day 5 if you include the Champions League, and it's impossible for Motta to know his starting midfield when you got a Colt Miners very late. Thuram was injured. You know, you had him, but then he got injured. McKennie out of nowhere popped up. Arthur is still running at the club for some reason. Nobody sees him in training. You know, the the weird thing about it. But in general, still a lot of question marks about that midfield. The question mark is not is there quality in that midfield. There is quality in the midfield. The question mark is, how is it going to function? Who's going to start, you know, and where is everybody going to fit in? So we talked about it. He said we have a strong midfield department with different characteristics and we work well together. I'm happy, but the work has only begun. We need to cover the space as well. It's clear that in some situations I have to think about maintaining balance, while in others I can push forward more. I think the first 2 games, and you can say it's Como or it's Verona, and that's fine. But in the first 2 games, he had more freedom, in my opinion, especially that Como game. You know, at one point, he was playing as number 10, you know? So there was a lot of freedom to interchange. Against Roma and against Empoli, especially Roma, where they just sit back and let the center backs play, and maybe as well against Empoli, there was no room for him to run, you know, and he was asked to drop deeper and, you know, start basically building up, you know, or whatever you want to call it. And that last part we didn't see in the last 2 games. We didn't see, you know, he still played well in my opinion, but you didn't see that. And that goes back to Motta needs to find a solution, because you can drop in Locatelli and that's fine, but then you're asking Cambiasso to cut inside, and you're asking Cambiasso to do way too much, in my opinion, which can work from time to time, but ideally I don't think it's the best solution. The balance in midfield right now, there's no balance in midfield, or like, I think we're balanced as a team in terms of like the way we set up, but that midfield is not balanced, because we don't know what the starting midfield is, and a player like Colt Miners, he looks off the pace, which I think is normal if you didn't really train for like 3-4 weeks in preseason. With the team, you're just doing cardio. You're gonna look out sync when you arrive at a new team. I think Douglas Luiz, fitness wise, is ready, but he doesn't put any risk in his game, and you saw that against Empoli. So right now, there's more question marks about that midfield than answers. The only answer you have, there's quality. But the questions are who's gonna play, who's gonna fit in where, what is the best combination, and so on, so on. So he talked about it. He's part of it. I think he's the only player in that midfield, and maybe Colt Miners. Not even Colt Miners. I think Locatelli right now is the only player in that midfield that will always start right now at this moment in time. And you can say that's not fair because he is potentially better. But right now, the way we set up and the issues we have at the back in terms of building up, I think Locatelli, you can write him down every single week. Maybe 10 games in a row that he will start, because I don't think we can do without him at this moment in time. But basically, we need time. That's what he's asking for. And me personally, I will give him time, or the team time, because I don't know what, like, if I had an opinion, because let's go back really quickly. For example, let's go back to Kostic and Junior last season. I knew, and I kept saying, play Junior because he is better. Right now, he's better than Kostic. He will offer more, and it didn't happen. Right now, I cannot say play those three because they are better than, I don't know, potential other three options, another three combination in midfield. Because I've not seen enough. I actually do not know 100% where everybody fits it, So I'll give it time, because I don't have an opinion. I don't have a strong opinion on that as well. Maybe with due time, I'm like, okay, these players, let's say we're 10 games in and you have a big sample size and everybody played at least 4 games, started 4 games. Then you can say, you know what, it needs to be him, and him, because in the other games, these guys didn't perform. But right now, match day 4, 5 with Champions League, I didn't see enough, to be honest. As well, Thuram played 1 and then got injured and subbed on. Colt Miners played, subbed on, started 1. Douglas Luiz, the same thing. So it's way too soon. It's way, way too soon, in my opinion. Let me see the chat really quickly. McKennie Ball will hit hard tomorrow. Yeah, he's not going to play, right? No. The captain is usually someone who's almost always on the pitch, a full 90. Loka's not going to be that, as a mid and forwards are subbed often, especially in Motta's rotation. I can see your point. Theoretically, PSV will play a more expensive brand of football, and we will find the space, and it will be easier to create chances. But it's all theory. We will talk about it, but this time it's not theory. PSV only have one way to play. And hit the like button, people. PSV are not going to change their way, because they can. Yeah, let's go to what Motta had to say. As well, the generic stuff. Happy to be in there are good rumors that he will start. Which rumors? What are the sources? I need to know the sources of those rumors, because if you start McKennie, like, I don't even know how to explain that. No matter how it will turn out, you spend 100, I don't know how many millions on that midfield. You push McKennie out, then you basically brought him back into the squad, and now you're going to play him in the first Champions League game. I think there's absolutely no chance that's going to happen. I think there's no chance, Guido Tolomei said so. Who? I don't know who that is. I'm not going to lie. I don't know who that is, but I actually will be pissed. If he starts, I will be pissed. But yeah, what Motta said, the generic stuff, it's good to play at home first, the jersey, pressure, it's blah, 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 it's a beautiful feeling, so on, so on. We know that. But he talked about the Champions League. And actually, he said what I said, I think, yesterday. I said that this year's Champions League, especially the opponents we have, they're not the easiest one. We probably got the worst group, one of the worst group 8, potentially. However, we play against quality teams. And right now, it's maybe a sad reality, but right now, we will only improve if we will make mistakes and learn from game to game. We're not going to learn from just training. When you have 8 new players, training is not good enough. You will need to play a PSV. You will need to play a Bruges who will probably not open up that much. You will need to play an Aston Villa that will play at a very intense level for 90 minutes. Like, you are going to need to learn to adapt to everything and have an answer for everything. So that's what the Champions League will do, and that's basically what he said. He said that he likes the format because we'll face many different teams, which is exciting because it allows us to learn and study new things compared to what we have done so far. He said it's important to respect our opponents. We need to focus on what we must do on the field, understand the moments of the game, and make PSV play a different match than they are used to. That's basically what I was saying. You know, you'll play different type of teams, and you will need to have answers for different things. Some things will press you a lot. Some things will press you actually nothing, not that much. Some will just sit back completely. Some will counter the hell out of you. You will need to have an answer on everything, because right now, at this moment in time, 4 games into the season, actually each team just gave us the ball. They gave us the ball. Empoli gave us the ball. Verona gave us the ball. They tried, but it didn't work. Como gave us the ball. Roma gave us the ball most of the time, you know. And it's different, you know. And maybe this team doesn't need the ball that often, which I doubt if I watch Motta play, or the way he sets up. I don't think so. Against Empoli, I think more so the problem was that our press wasn't good. When Empoli had possession, it was a bit too slow, which we didn't see in the first 2 games. But I don't think you really need to press PSV high on the pitch, because they will come high. They will push high for themselves, you know. So I don't think you need to put a lot of energy in that regard. But the Champions League will learn us. It will give us a lot, you know, because I'm going to say 8 players never played the Champions League in our squad right now. Am I lying? It's probably Di Gregorio, Cabal, Cambiasso, Savona, Yildiz, Mbangula, Douglas Luiz. I'm missing a few, right? I don't know who Gonzalez. It's probably 8, probably more than 8, who never played Champions League football. So these guys are going to learn a lot. You know, these guys are going to make mistakes. These guys are going to learn the hard way, because PSV played Champions League. They played Champions League last season. A lot of these players played Champions League last season a lot. Rui, Atsic, Weah. Didn't Weah play Champions League with Lille? Could be. Actually, it could be. Weird. You know, that he just missed out when Lille played Champions League. But these players are going to learn, you know, because now you're going to play players, and you can say, oh, it's Lozano who's injured, or Noah Lang who just came back from injury, or Luc de Jong, or whatever. Oh, these guys, they play Champions League, but they're not those guys. It helps. It really helps, you know, and these guys are going to learn the hard way, which is good, you know, because you cannot just do what Motta said earlier on. Oh, we had a good week of training, and then you go out against Empoli and you create nothing. Then that week of training didn't really help, did it? You know, it didn't really help. The positive thing is, it's Empoli. We talked about it on Sunday, and now it's Monday. We're previewing because we play the early slot PSV on Tuesday. You know, so I think that's the positive news. Last season, if we had that Empoli game last season, we will be talking about that game for an entire week, and that was absolutely horrible. We'll talk about who will start and the sack people. Let's move on. Let's move on to what Motta had to say. Now we need to talk about, you know, the performances, PSV, and so on, because right now we look like a balanced team in terms of we don't get caught on the break for this moment in time. We don't get peppered. You know, we don't have moments like last season where we would get absolutely roasted for 20 minutes and it was all hell. It could have been against Sanitana, it could have been against Cagliari, no matter who. Right now, it doesn't look like we're that type of team. But he said we'll face an attacking team with quality players. We have a great energy and can't wait to go up against them on the field tomorrow. We're in good shape and our attitude is positive both in training and during matches. We want to impose our style of play. We need to protect our goal as we have done so far when we don't have the ball. when we do have it, we need to build up the play to give our midfielders and forwards time to get into the box. We're on the right path because our attitude is correct. These are all good things to say. However, if it doesn't translate on the pitch consistently, it becomes an issue. When he says we need to build up to play, that's the issue right now. Like, our build up is... We struggled to build up for obvious reasons. And against Empoli, it was extremely slow. We took too many touches. We kept it way too simple when at one point you just needed to take some risk. Even with the 5 minutes of added time, I said it yesterday, we're just bopping it around in front of our own pucks, and it's like it's 5 minutes. It didn't work for the previous 90. It's definitely not going to work for the last 5 minutes. Like, there are no mocks. You're not playing Venezia, with all due respect, and it didn't help, so it's all good that you try to do that, but if it doesn't work, you need to find solutions. We didn't concede a goal this season, 4 clean sheets still. I'm not too, how do you want to say that? Not impressed, but like, I am impressed, but I'm not too focused on the 4 clean sheets. Because having 4 clean sheets is cool, but it's not like, I'd rather win 2-1 than 0-0 or 1-0. Like, a win, look, if you can't keep a clean sheet, I'm perfectly fine with it, but I'd rather take the win. But when I said at the start of the season that we need time to gel in, these players are going to need the time to, gel in, improve, so on. So I said at the start of the season, just look solid and find ways to win. Right now, we're not finding a way to win. However, we look solid. We don't look completely out of shape. We don't look like when we lose possession, we're wide open. I don't have that feeling right now. So that's extremely positive. The flip side is that's probably costing us a little bit in creating chances. I don't think it's all about that, because right now we lack some quality in terms of like players actually stepping up, trying to make those 1v1s, don't misplace 1,000 passes like a Gonzalez or Vlahovic against Empoli, or the Yildiz struggling to link up play against Empoli in very easy situations as well. So all these things together, I think, kind of fill in the part of, okay, that's why we're not creating chances. We look solid, and I'm perfectly fine with that. That's good. That's positive. That's a positive beginning for a new coach with a lot of new players. But in the Champions League, I think you need more. Because you can look solid, but if a team comes at you for 90 minutes, more often than not, you're just gonna break. You're gonna break. So we need to find solutions for that, and hopefully it's tomorrow. Empoli missed a few chances. I'm not impressed by our clean sheets. They miss absolutely no chance. They miss one chance in the box with Perin. Other than that, they miss absolutely no chance. The late one, when we lost possession with Fagioli, I agree with that. That's potentially a chance, but like that's not being played out of. That's just Fagioli gifting the ball when everybody was high on the pitch. That's just idiotic from Fagioli. Like, there was no pressure. He just handed the ball to an Empoli player when we had about 8 players on Empoli's half. That was just ridiculous. And other than that, that was a good build-up play. Was it around the 70 minute when they entered the box? Other than that, they were never close to scoring. Nor were Roma, nor were Verona, nor were Como. So we look chances. And also in a game, you're gonna give away. If you play 4 games, you're gonna give away chances. No matter who you are, it's gonna happen. You're still playing professional footballers. But the chances we actually give, like even against Como, chances like shots at Di Gregorio, were us losing possession. We were trying to build up, So it's not that we get played out of shape completely. But let's move on. Let's move on to the last quotes, and then we will go into the lineup and talk about that, because there are some surprises. Vlahovic, obviously, Vlahovic came up again, and Motta's gonna back his guys. He's gonna back Vlahovic. He's not gonna throw him under the bus, which I think is normal. I think it's very normal. He's not gonna come on and say, yeah, he's not good enough. He's not playing well. It's just not gonna happen. But he said he's doing well, and I'm confident he will keep scoring goals. What's important is the attitude. If we haven't conceded goals, it's partially thanks to him, and if we haven't scored, it's not solely his fault. Criticism are part of a job. I agree with that. If we don't score goals, it's not all in the striker. I get it. You know, it doesn't like you can have Harry Kane up top, but if you have I don't know, like Kostic and De Shelley in the team, Harry Kane is not going to score 30 goals in this season. I get it, you know. We don't create chances enough. That's not the last 2 games, and that's not on Vlahovic, you know, creating chances. However, finishing chances, just being okay with the basic stuff and build-up play, that is on Vlahovic. That's not on Yildiz or Gonzalez that Vlahovic cannot control the ball or that Vlahovic cannot finish a 1-on-1. That's not on teammates. That's on him, period. You know, but Vlahovic hasn't scored. He hasn't scored for 2 games. He scored against Verona twice. You know what it is? If somebody looks up Lautaro's stats of the last 12 games in Serie A, you wouldn't believe what you're reading. I think he has 1 assist and 1 goal in the last 12 Serie A games, and it was against Frosinone, and nobody's really talking about it because he showed some consistency the previous season. The other season, there was some rumbling about Lautaro that it's inconsistent and he misses too much. And then they had one fantastic season where people thought he was a front runner for Ballon d'Or, which was always not going to be the case. But I think he has 1 goal in 10 or in 12. And nobody's really talking about that. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be talking about Vlahovic. We should. But right now, Vlahovic is the only option we have. He's the only option. Like, the only one who can fix Vlahovic is Vlahovic. Because it gets in his head. Like, his finishing ability is top. The fact that he's not converting consistently for 2 years now or so on, it's just a mindset. It's a mindset, in my opinion, because he loses his head the moment something doesn't go his way. It's just a mindset. Just remain focused. If you don't put that one chance away, you need to trust yourself and your teammate, the other chance that will come, and you don't need to go into it being like there will be no chance. You need to go into it, there will be another chance, and I will put it away. That's the only way he's going to get out of it. That has nothing to do with teammates, with coaching. That's him. Him staying focused, it's on him. It's not on any one of us, you know? It's not about pressure. It's not about jersey numbers. It's not about Motta. It's not about Yildiz or Gonzalez or Coat Miners. That's on him. Staying in the game mentally, that's on him. And right now, that's his biggest his flaw. His biggest flaw. Because some of the goals he scores since he joined us, the finishes are ridiculous. It's just a consistency and the mindset that's completely not there. It's completely not there, you know. And he needs to fix that. That's on him. Yeah. Okay. Starting 11. Because people are talking about the starting 11. This is one of the rumored starting 11. And this is actually the latest starting 11. With Di Gregorio back. Gatti, Bremer, Cambiasso on the left. Kalulu stays in the team. Stays on the right. Locatelli, Thuram, Coat Miners, Timothy Weah, Gonzalez, and Vlahovic. Which means Douglas Luiz got benched. Which I kind of predicted. And I think it will happen. I think he will start Thuram and Locatelli. The shocker is that Yildiz is getting benched for Gonzalez, basically. Those are the rumors. I know somebody said, Spiro said, McKennie. I think I will have a heart attack if I see McKennie start. I really would. Like, I'm not gonna lie. And if McKennie starts, I'm gonna root for him because I want to win and I hope he scores 1, 2, whatever. But pre-game, I will have a mini heart attack. I'm already weird. Like, I'm already confused as of why Yildiz will get benched. I don't think it's the right decision. I don't think it's the right decision to bench Yildiz for that first Champions League game. I think he deserves to start. However, I can see it happening. That he benches Danilo. That he benches Yildiz for Gonzalez or like whatever for Weah potentially, and just switches the players from left to right. You know, because Weah, the way Motta speaks on him, and the way like right now with Conceição out, if he starts McKennie over Coat Miners, Spiros, then yeah, Like I like Guido is saying there's a high probability the midfield is gonna be the original or whatever that means. Yeah, so nobody has a clue basically. Nobody has a clue. I that's why I said I picked one. It could be completely different. I do think Thuram is gonna start. I wouldn't be shocked if Timothy Weah plays, because right now with Conceição out, he's the only player with those characteristics. Just trying to take on players, has some speed, not like Conceição, definitely not like Conceição, because with Timothy Weah, it looks like he's playing in slow motion at times, which is weird because he's extremely fast, but it looks like he's playing in slow motion at times. So I wouldn't be surprised if Weah starts, and I think Thuram will start. I do believe that's going to be the back line. You know, somebody said Danilo or something about that. Or somebody... Actually, no, not somebody said that. Somebody texted me, you know, or DM me saying, do you think Motta doesn't like Danilo? And I said, I don't think. I'm 100% convinced Motta doesn't like Danilo. He doesn't hate him, but if he has options to not play Danilo for 50 games, he will pick those options for 50 games. It's match day 5, and Danilo's not even tipped to start. You know what? How many minutes did Danilo play? 5, 10 in total. Man, did he came on against Como? He came on against Verona, right? I don't know what. However, he's playing worse than garbage time minutes right now, basically for his for a player with his status, if you want to say that. Match day 5, if he doesn't start, I don't know what evidence what more of an evidence you need to say that Motta actually doesn't like Danilo. I don't like Danilo, and I think it was August, July, I said, don't be surprised if Danilo's not going to play a lot of games, because I don't see how Motta can fall in love with a player like Danilo. Actually, I cannot see how any person can fall in love with a player like Danilo, to be honest. And right now, it's there. It's staring you in the face. Like, he's playing Kalulu. Just signed him. He played Savona. You know, he played every other single player before playing Danilo. Like, he is 5th, 6th option right now. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I think Savona is ahead of him as well. I think he's 6th option or something. So that's crazy, but it is what it is. Kalulu played well against Empoli, so he deserves to start again. Bremer and Gatti is a partnership. Di Gregorio obviously is the number 1. Locatelli, I don't think you can get out of that team. Colt Miners was your main target, so you're gonna play him. Weah is a surprise. Gonzalez you wanted, and Vlahovic is your only option. So that attack isn't good enough to beat PSV. Gotta start Yildiz. That attack is good enough to beat PSV. If that attack is not, with all due respect to PSV, and they're playing well for a season and a half or so, very well. They scored a lot of goals. But if that's not good enough to beat PSV, then wrap up the season. Like, wrap it up. I'm sorry. And with all due respect, I'm not going to say we should be going out there tomorrow and beat them 5-0 or something, and they'll make them look like dummies. I'm not saying that. But if that's not good enough, then what is the point this season? Like, what is... Because I don't think Yildiz... Okay, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I don't think putting Yildiz in there makes this attack go from this to this. I don't think that's the case. So it should be good enough to beat PSV. It should be good enough. We have to rotate a few players before the Napoli game. No, we don't. In my opinion, the squad is big enough. We don't. I don't think we do. We still have Fagioli. You have Douglas Luiz on the bench. You know, you have Dalulu. You have Danilo. You have Savona. You have options. You have Yildiz if he doesn't start. So we don't need to rotate at all. Like, there's absolutely no chance we need to rotate, especially not at match day 5. It's match day 5. You know, who the hell is not gonna be ready? Like, if you cannot play 2 games right now at this moment in time of the season, then we are in massive trouble as well. Like, imagine playing January Champions League football, the 21st of January, I think we play Champions League football. Then what are we gonna say? So we don't need to rotate. Absolutely no chance that we need to rotate for the Napoli game. The Napoli game is on Saturday. You have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You still have 3 days to recover. They're playing a football match. They're not playing NFL right there. They're playing a football match in September. So I disagree. We don't need to rotate. You need to go out there, with your potential best 11, and you need to beat PSV. You need to get that win home. That Napoli game will sort itself out. If we are gonna do that right now in month one, thinking about rotation, about resting, not rotation, because he can change things because he has option. So I don't think that's resting, but deliberately go out there and rest your best players, your starters. I will actually lose it. I will lose it. My fear is that it seems Motta isn't trying to adapt to his players' abilities. He's trying to the same ideas, and when they're not working, he's not showing any reaction that concerns me. I think he's just figuring it out right now. I think he just needs time to figure it out. That's what I think. Yeah, I'm not home of Juve. I'm not going to talk about January signings. I don't know the answers, to be honest. I actually do not want to even consider. I don't even want to entertain talking about transfers right now. I don't buy any of the predicted lineups. None of them really make sense, and none really knows how the attack and midfield will look like. It's just a guessing game in the media. Well, this one makes sense, to be honest. It actually makes sense because that backline makes sense. I think that midfield, to me personally, makes sense. Gonzalez plays there. You only have Vlahovic, and Weah plays in that position. So for me, it makes sense. It does. Like, setup-wise. Maybe not personnel-wise. You could say you prefer to play Yildiz or Douglas Luiz, whatever. But setup-wise, to me, it makes sense. I don't think... I think I was live with Norbert, and I said he will play Locatelli and Thuram, I think, just to hold that midfield a little bit different and rely on the four there, the four up top, you want to call it, to force it with their quality. I think that's what he's trying to do against PSV. I don't think he's going to go with more attacking-minded midfielders. I think he's going to go with more midfielders who are potentially better defensively, which I think Douglas Luiz and Thuram are. Locatelli and Thuram are. But yeah, it's time for predictions. Let me know in the chat what you think. First Champions League game in a year, more than a year. What is your prediction? It's going to be an open game. But I don't expect a lot of goals. I think it's going to be not even a lot of chances, to be honest. I think it's just going to be an end-to-end type of game that we will win 1-0. I think we will win 1-0, which is weird because PSV average about 3 goals a game. But we average 0 conceded goals a game. So maybe that balances itself out. 1-0. I'll take any type of win. I just want a win ahead of Napoli. A win with more chances created, obviously. I don't think that's going to be the case, but that will be ideal. But also start off the Champions League with a win. It's a home game. It will get worse. Leipzig away is worse. Man City, Aston Villa, Stuttgart, Lille. It's getting worse than PSV potentially. Maybe not Lille, but it gets worse, or Stuttgart. I need a win. I need 3 points and cruise to the Napoli game with a good feel factor because Napoli will be ready. They have 1 week of doing absolutely nothing in terms of, stressing, whatever, just focusing, preparing on this one game, and Conte can do that. So that's going to be a high pressure cooker game, and we need to go that into with a positive feeling. Koop, for example, comes from a long injury. Did he have training camp? I think he did. Fitness-wise, he might have problems. Well, he didn't show problems, so I don't see any. He played 90 minutes against Empoli, so I'm assuming there are no problems. He did have in training camp, maybe not fully with Atalanta the last 3 weeks or so, but I don't see an issue. There's no leaks that he has fitness issues or injury concerns. He played against Empoli 90 minutes. I don't see the issue. You bought him for 60 million. You play your first Champions League games. You're not going to anticipate, injuries. You're not going to sit there and be like, but maybe he picks up an injury. You cannot do that. That's just a no-go. At that point, you're not going to play any of these players. You might sit there and be like, if Vlahovic is injured, we don't have a number 9. I'm not going to play Vlahovic. Just play your best players, win. If there is an injury, there is an injury. You worry about that at that moment in time. You don't anticipate injuries. Because if you do that, you're going to lose a lot of games. Play your 11. If an injury happens or whatever, you think about that at that moment in time. Do not anticipate anything like those things. We might not think those things, but a manager does. Yeah, and I said he doesn't need to do that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't care what Motta says. Thinks I'm giving my opinion. If you do that, that's terrible for me. Go out there and win. Do not go out there and think about, I need coal miners, and maybe he picks up an injury. Like, forget about it. Like, that, we're gonna have a horrible season if you're gonna do that. You know, I don't think Motta's gonna do that. I don't think he's thinking like that, because he needs that win, and he knows. He definitely needs that win. I think Motta will rotate Cope. Fine. Like, you could be right. He can be bench. He could be benching Cope tomorrow. I think that's a massive mistake. You paid 60 million for him, for these type of games. You paid him. We paid 60 million for Cope miners for this Champions League big stage. If you bench him, I'm sorry, that's weird. Cabal, he could play, but I think he's gonna go with his. That looks more solid, more of a, how do you want to give it, like more certainties rather than Cabal. That's what I think. But yeah, okay, so that's my prediction. 1-0. I'm gonna wrap this one up, people. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I will be back tomorrow with a match reaction. We'll be back live on Wednesday, hopefully, to discuss first Champions League win this season. We need it, and then then it's Thursday, and it's already prepping for Napoli, which is also gonna be a big one. We need to win, but we'll talk about that in due time. Tomorrow, PSV early kickoff as well, so everybody will be watching, which is it is what it is, I guess. You know, it could be very positive, or it could be a lot of meme material. Only time will tell. But people, thanks for watching. Like on your way out, subscribe, have a good night, and I'll